Hello everyone, my name is Langdon Holbrook. I'm a history major here at Mount, and the research question I'll be presenting on: in what ways does Bruce Springsteen, born in the USA, reflect challenges faced in the US during the Vietnam War and early 1980s? So, a little background information. The reason I picked this was because it's kind of a personal topic to me. I kind of grew up my whole life listening to Bruce Springsteen, his music. My father was very big into it as I was growing up, so it was always on in the house or in the car. So I kind of have that personal connection. And another connection I have is also the fact that my grandfather, he fought in the Vietnam War. So he got to live through this kind of, this time period, this era. And he's kind of some of the people that Bruce kind of talks about in his songs. So some of the authors that I've used, that I've learned, that have helped me kind of build my research question, become more insightful and kind of knowledgeable on this, is Simon Brzezowski. I'm hoping I'm pronouncing that right. Might butcher that a little bit. But Susan Macy Callis and Jim Collin. Jim Collin especially, he's wrote a lot of books about this kind of time period and Bruce Springsteen in general, and he's given me a lot of insightful information and kind of understanding the topic a lot better. So just a little background, if you guys don't know who Bruce Springsteen is, he's an incredibly famous musician, and he released an album in 1984 called Born in the USA, which has the title song, Born in the USA, which was the biggest hit on the whole album. But he was already famous at this point. In 1975, he releases Born to Run, and that was already it sold incredibly well. So by the time he releases this album, he's already a mainstay in pop culture. But of course, so he releases Born in the USA, it sells 30 million albums, and it becomes one of the most influential albums of like the whole decade, and even the whole time period. And then I think a good thing to understand too, kind of background information on Bruce Springsteen and sort of what he talks about in his music. Jim Collin puts it really well. Jim Collin emphasizes that Springsteen uses working class identity in a lot of his music, right? That's kind of his background. He doesn't really, at least not this time in his career, he didn't fall into a political spectrum. It's more of he writes songs about the working class people and their struggles in America. So a little context just in general about this whole thing, about what's going on in America at the time. The Vietnam War had been going on for 20 years, and it just ended pretty much when this song comes out, when this album comes out. 20-year war that deeply divides America, right? At first, we get into the war kind of gung-ho, and then towards the end, the American people are done with it, right? And a lot of this kind of frustration, this anger, unfortunately, kind of comes out on our veterans, right? Our veterans come back home from Vietnam, they get labeled baby killers, and they get spit on, and a lot of really, really bad things happen to them. They don't get a lot of support from the government, and of course, they come back home with PTSD, which we understand now is post-traumatic stress disorder. For the time, it's still not researched that well. People still don't have a good understanding of what that is. And unfortunately, the biggest thing, one of the biggest issues, is they have a difficulty finding jobs. And with the next slide, I'll kind of talk about that. So the economy and the economic struggles of the early 1980s, why can't these Vietnam veterans find jobs? Well, it's because in the early 80s, we have a recession. And we have a recession due to high inflation, and then Reagan comes in and he makes interest rates higher to try to combat that inflation, right? Which is kind of good for the wealthy, but really hurts middle-class America. And this creates a decline in manufacturing jobs, right? We see the automotive industry, the industrial industry, the coal industry. These jobs start going elsewhere. They start going overseas, and this is really, really a big blow to middle-class America, right? Especially in the Midwest, where Bruce Springsteen is incredibly popular, the Rust Belt, as it's kind of called as well. So a little bit, we'll get into the song now. So some lyrics about the song and the war. It's a very misinterpreted song, which is kind of funny because we'll go into the lyrics here. You wouldn't think it'd be misinterpreted, but it is. One of the lyrics that is big, "Set me off to a foreign land." Bruce says that in the song, which is of course referring to the Vietnam War. And then he also says, "Come back home, got nothing to go to." Which what he's referring to is a Vietnam veteran who's sent off to Vietnam, and he comes back, and no one's going to help him, right? He has all these challenges, and he's facing all these issues, and his fellow countrymen don't care for him, and especially the government doesn't care for him, right? He also says in the song, "Went down to see my VA man," VA, Veterans Affairs Office, right? He said, "Son, don't you understand? Pretty much, like, we can't help you. There's nothing here we can do for you," right? And then the chorus of the song, "Born in the USA," we get into the next slide. Why it gets incredibly misinterpreted all the time is because the chorus is very boisterous, it's very loud, it's very patriotic in a way, right? It's born in the USA, as it keeps going over and over. So it gets misinterpreted, right? We still misinterpret songs today. We hear a pop song, we're not really listening to anything but like this, the loud beat or the loud chorus. But you know, in a lot of the verses in the song, it talks about the issues, the struggle of Americans and veterans at the time. And go over the impact too. So when the song comes out, it gets not only interpreted by people, but by politicians, right? Ronald Reagan famously used the song in his campaign and saw it as a song that is sort of almost endorsing what's going on in America at the time, when Bruce Springsteen was very against it, right? The song is almost not clowning, but very adversary to a lot of Reagan's policies, right? But even Reagan misconstrues it. And then Jim Cohen again argues Springsteen was pulled into a political symbolism he's not fully controlled, right? That's another big thing, is both conservatives and liberals kind of tried to claim him at the time, when Springsteen still, like I've said before, doesn't have a political identity. He's more talking about the struggles of working class people, Vietnam veterans, and people that are going through a lot of issues because of these social reforms. And then I kind of like to sum it up with this quote that I found is really indicative of what I've learned going through this research. It's by Pablo Picasso, and it says, "Art is the lie that enables us to realize the truth." And I really, really like this quote because I think it sums up what I've kind of understood, is that the way we view art, music, movies, TV, literature, it helps us shape the political realm around us. It helps us understand history, and it helps us just understand society and ourselves a little bit better, right? So I just think that's something that we can all take and my source of sight.
Thank you.